Hello YouTubers, Charles here, and I'm back for another one of my Minecraft Minecart Station Tutorials. And in this episode, we'll be going over three-way and four-way stations as we move our way up from simple stations to more complex ones. So let's get to that right now. So I have a few different examples here, and there's not that much because, well, the next video will show you much better designs, but these are all fairly simple designs that don't use much redstone or complicated tracks, hopefully. So this is a really simple design here. Let's put that rail back. You basically come into the station. You flip the switch here to determine whether you go straight or to the left in this case. And then you push the button to go. You have to kind of look at which way the switch is, the track is, and know that you will turn or skip over. So it requires a little knowledge, but it's pretty simple to build. Hit the button from anywhere. And this is not the only way you can build it. If you don't like this little top, which you can, complete if you want, but you can completely remove this top, and then you would have to remove this block, and this block, and this block. But instead of running the redstone up on top, you can come around here and run the redstone around here to power, and I'll just knock that out. And you can see when I push this now, it gets powered as well. And this basically works. I believe it needs to use wooden buttons because they output longer pulses. But it basically works because the button stays depressed long enough for the cart to come up the other side. But it's relatively simple to make, and I'll show you how to make it now. You basically just need 4 normal rails, 6 power rails, 10 blocks if you're doing the over-the-top version. Even if you're not doing the if you are doing the over-the-top version though, you'll be digging out more than 10 blocks. So if you are fine with reusing them, if they're dirt or whatever they happen to be, you basically don't need any blocks. You need 1 button, 1 lever, and about 16 redstone. So it's basically you make a 3x3 2-deep hole, and then you just put little stairs on the side. So we will do that now. So that's the beginning of the hole. The stairs themselves start out 2 deep and then go 1 deep, so you have to go a little further. Then just the basics of it are you put a block down, put the lever below that block, put the button there, knock out those 2 blocks, and let's put the tracks in. 1 bit of redstone there, and then 4 tracks in a T. When you power or unpower, that will now flip left to right. Then you just put powered rail, and that's all I counted for the station. Of course, you'll need to extend this off into various directions, and when you do, that's when this fully goes up to the top. Now to get the button to power all the powered rail, you just put redstone coming from the powered rail up over the button. You actually don't need this for just those 2. But then the trick is powering this rail here. And as I showed, there's basically 2 ways of doing it. You put a block on top, then a block here, then you break it. And the very bare minimum you need is Well, it can be done in various ways. Yeah, that block wasn't right. This is one way you can do it. And you just put redstone to there, so that's powering the top. Or like I showed over there, you can break out these blocks and tunnel under here. There we go. So you can basically put redstone almost all the way around and then to there. Either one of those methods will work. And yeah, that's this station. You can then have this look nicer. If you want a little more room for your head, you can, leave a block open like that, so you don't feel like you're going to run into that. You can fill this up into like a complete roof. Of course, you may want to leave a gap just like on this side. And that's this simple three-way station. This next station, it's kind of the same idea, but instead of having a lever and a button, we just give you two buttons. You want to go left or do you want to go right? From the sides here, it's left and forward, and right and forward. Now this is kind of a classic design that I've compacted using. Normally it's a block bigger all the way around. You can add some decoration up here to hide all the redstone, and that won't interfere with it. But I believe this version is a block narrow, or 2 blocks narrower than the classic versions. There is some redstone underneath. I've kept it to basically the one open space below the block that the rails are on. And above does have just one block up here. You could actually have a half slab, and that's just to prevent this wire from connecting to that wire. But how this works, I'll kind of showed you how it worked. Let's just ride it here. I'll press left, and here I'll press straight, and you can see it track switches and the rails power about the same time if the track needs to switch. And of course, when you build it, all this would be filled in like that. Like that. You can fill in those. I just have it exposed so you can see how it works. There's basically, from each position, one button will will power just the powered rails, and the other button will power the power rails and turn the switch track. And the way it works out is, in this case, if I want to go left, I would just need to power the power rails because this naturally curves to the left, so I press that button. From here, if I want to go to the right, this button powers this block. Well, it just so happens that that's the right turn for this side, which also does not need to turn the switch track. So the way it works out is there's 4 blocks with buttons on it. This has 1 button, this has 2, this has 2, and this has 1. And the way it works out is the diagonal ones, so in this case this one and this one, they're diagonally opposite, just need to turn on the power rails. And then the other 2 diagonal ones need to turn on the power rails and flip the track switch in the center. So the way I have this wired up, which is a little different than I think other examples that I've seen. Other examples that I've seen basically have one of these turn off when you press the one set of buttons and the other turn off when you press the other set of buttons. The way I have this top wired is one of these turn off, and that would be this one, when the powered rails need to power. And the other one turns off when the switch needs to change. So if you push one like this button, probably not, well, yeah, okay, that was just that far one changing. Now if I push this one to go straight, I need both the powered rails to go off or the power rails to come on and the switch to change. So you can see both torches go off. And the way I'm having that happen is I have these half slabs here. And if you're not familiar with this and this is actually connected, as you can see from the half slab. But it's connected in a way that power will go from here to here, but not from here down. Half slabs, you basically can go up the edge of half slabs even though they're not directly connected, but you can't go down half slabs. So that gets any button you press will turn off this torch, but only this button and this button through this loop of wire going around will turn off this torch. So this torch will then be hooked up to each of the powered rails to turn them on, where this one is hooked up to this center switch to flip its direction. And I have some sneaky redstone running under the floor and in the walls. Basically, this block gets powered, which then powers this. And then I sneak by a torch here using a repeater to power that block. And attached to that block is a torch directly under this block. So changing that torch will change that. Now, by removing that block, this was pointing directly at that block, but when I removed the block that was above it, that of course redirects the redstone. But when this block is here, now this is just straight into that block, and that's how this all works. That's how that part works. For this part, we got basically the same thing, but now we come over here, we power this block, which turns off the torch and pushes power through to this side. We then use a repeater to keep that torch from interfering with the signal. Then we do basically the same thing again, push power through this block into this bit of redstone, and that turns off this torch, and then there's a torch under this one as well. This torch here. I'm gonna try to do a tutorial on this right now, but bear with me. I really not that familiar with building this, so we'll take it a step at a time. We basically need a 3x3 hole that we then extend by 2 blocks. So let's do that now. So that's the 3x3 hole. This will be the switch block there. And we then extend 3 of the sides by 2 blocks, I believe. Yes. And these here will be the blocks we will power to get the power rails. So let's put in all the non-powered rails and then powered rails. Should have gone over the materials. You'll need approximately 48 blocks, although you will dig a few out of the ground. You'll need 2 half slabs. Doesn't matter the type as long as they're just half slabs. 6 torches, 6 repeaters, 31 redstone, 6 buttons, 7 regular tracks, at least to the edge of the station there. 6 power rails, and 3 signs. So you start off with something like this. Then the way I had it, you have a 2-high wall here. You can see that there, and then it'll be a total of 5 by 3, so you come out 4 more. And you put your buttons on here. So there's your buttons. You put your redstone dots on top. Now, in my case, or the way I'm facing, because this does depend on the way you're facing. Let's just power this momentarily. There we go. So the natural way for this to turn is that way. So here, for left, you just want to go have the power rails turn on, and for straight, you need to flip this as well. So these two are flip, where these two are just power, the power rails. Well, technically all of them are power, the power rails, but these two are additionally flip. So the way I had it wired up, this will be the flip, this will be the power. If that's not what you need, you can just reverse this top section here. Or you could potentially try reversing the bottom section. So, as I said before, there's half slabs. One is there, the other is here. And when I power this, you can see the top gets powered, but the one on the other side doesn't. And that's exactly what we want. Actually, in this case, we'll just, we need one here as well. So now, no matter which button I press, this torch should turn off. You can kind of see the sparkle of it, and I'll press this, and it is off. There you go. Now we need to hook this. Sorry, I should say, we now need to hook this button up to this torch, which actually is relatively easy, except that connects, so we just put a block up there. But now we need to also hook this button to flip that, so we do turn to the right here. So there are a few different ways you can do it, and the way I thought worked out the best is just putting a little rim around here to there, and then putting a block up there so they won't connect, and then running a wire along there. So now when I push this button, both torches should turn off, and they both do, and the same thing with this button. And then just to test, this button should only turn one off, the same as this button. And that looks like it all works. So just complete this rim around here. You can add a second layer to hide that little bit of wire and make it all look nice. You can now also add your signs that basically just say, straight push the button on the left, right push the button on the right, etc. Like I had before. And that's the top done. Now comes the semi-complicated part, and I'm gonna wind up digging out a lot of blocks here. You can replace anything that is not air with blocks at this point. So we have power coming down to here now, and to here. And this was our go, so we need to power these blocks here, and the way I was doing that was with a torch here, and this will just keep that off. Basically, we want to use this power to keep these torches off, so when we remove the power, the rail becomes powered. Actually, I had a repeater there, so not only will that turn that off, but it will push power through to this side, where we'll have another bit of redstone. We'll have a block here with a torch on it, and then 2 repeaters, just because we don't want this torch coming on powering that and stopping the signal. And then we need to push power through this block, so it not only turns that block off, but also will power a dot of redstone on this side. And then on this side, we will put a block there that will get powered, and we will stick a redstone torch on it. So that should be the whole power. So, see, they all come on. This one just a hair before those other 2. It's 2 ticks right there. So, now we just need to hook this up to change the direction of that center. And we will do that by putting a block there. Ducking down so I can see that block, and putting a torch on it. You see that flip that, but then we will power that. And the way we need to do that, because this will get powered by that torch, we need to put a repeater there, and we'll do something like that. But again, like I showed you before, that causes kind of a, we want this to go straight and not up, so we need to then put the block back here, and that should be everything. Now when we push this, you can see the track switched, so we're all good. And let's just put some of these back to clean it up. And there you have it. The classic 3-way kind of station. You'll stop at the slope here, you can read the sign, push the buttons, and that's how that one works. It's a little complicated to build, but it's got a nice look, and it's a pretty decent size. And you can fill that up, you know, put any type of fancy roof or whatever on the top. I have one other station, and this one's flat. This is one that I tend to use, but it uses a lot of rail. But the redstone is pretty... It could be a little simpler, but it's decently simple. And you basically just have... You come to this 4th side, if this was a crossing, and you basically just have left, center, and right, and that will make you go left, center, and right. So if you push the left button, you will come out, go to the left, and the empty cart won't make it all the way around, but if you're riding, it will. If you hit center, you'll just come through here, and then come back, and of course right will do the same thing. So it's pretty easy to use, and you can hide all this behind a wall. Just build a wall here, whatever you want to do. And there's 2 switch tracks here, and basically this first switch controls whether you go right or to the left or to the center. So once you've this one is flipped this way, well then this one will control whether you're going to the left or center. And there's only 2 lines down here. The only issue is the way I have it built in this particular direction, the lines need to cross and one needs to be inverted. But that is rather simple to do, and then you just have 2 torches here to control or power the switch tracks. So to build this one, you just need 12 blocks, 5 powered rails. You need 27 other rails. You need 10 torches, although I have 4 of the torches just powering powered rails, so you could replace them with switches or power them from the ground to make it look cleaner. You'll need 4 repeaters, 14 redstone, 3 signs, and the 3 lamps are optional. The way I have it built with the lamps are coming on when you push the button, but they are optional. They're not needed for this to work. So let's start this one off here. Yeah, always have the 2 switch tracks right next to each other. And, well, this will be a switch track, and then it comes back. I had this as a powered rail, and that as the powered rail, and you put a block back there as the backer stopper block. I put a torch here to power that one. The rest of the rail, it's not complicated, but it can get a little confusing. So if you're coming in from the right, we want to direct you past the switches right into the station. This one will flip between going right and the other 2 options. If you're coming from the center, we need to again direct you around these 2 switches, and since right is already going there, hooking that into the right path, we'll do that. And then finally we have the left path, and in this case we again need to direct you around the switches, and if we directed you this way, well, you'd jump and you'd miss the stop, so we have to direct you this way, and that will then bring you all the way around. Then we just put some powered rail on the ends here to give you an extra boost, because going over all these switch tracks and jumping the corner slows you down a little bit. So that's the track layout. Next is the switch, and it actually starts off with 1 dot of redstone here. The way I'm building it, these tracks naturally go... Well, no, they don't. Let's power them. They don't naturally go straight, but we will power them eventually to make them naturally go to the center. So that the center track, all it needs is a button, which will power that power rail and send you off. It's the left and the right that will need to flip one or the other, and that's what makes this the redstone pretty simple. Depending on the direction you build it, you'll have to invert potentially one or both of these. In my case, I need to have this one inverted. We'll get to that in a minute. That's all done underground. You need to break the 3 blocks that will be under this switch wall. And in fact, you need to then do 3 behind the wall as well. You need 3 repeaters. And I'll leave this open for now, but you will need to put 2 blocks here and here when you're done. But this will let us see how this all works. Behind the wall on the left and right will go bits of redstone. You put a torch on the back here. So these are powering this block, which will power redstone below that block, and that's how we get the power signals underground. But we need, right now the center button turns that on. But we need, when you push the left or right button, besides the left or right turning off, we need the center to come on. And the way I found that's easiest, or simplest I should say, to do that is you put 2 blocks here. Actually, with redstone torches, I removed 1 block too many. And then you put redstone back here, but now this has connected with those 2, and we don't want that to happen, because pushing this button will then not change the state. So you put a block there. And that's really interesting. There we go. Redstone somehow got stuck in an on state. But now, this torch is always powered. It powers this spot, which powers that block and the repeater. But it also powers this block, which turns off this torch. So the center is not powered. And the same thing happens on this side. However, when you push the button and this turns off, the torch turns on, which will power the center, which will power this spot, which will power the powered rail. So let's see that in action. And that's how that works. So that all 3 of these buttons will go. The center won't put any signal underground, but the left and right will. I'm just going to put a different block here so they'll be easy to find underground. And let us dig down now. It doesn't really matter where you dig down. You can fill in almost all of this when you're done. Now, I also have blocks marked out here. There's the one, and there's the other. So, when we're going to put torches under those, like so. And when I do that, well, this one is now turned around facing the right way, but this one isn't to go straight, because center or straight just needs us to power this, or that's what we'd want it to happen. So we need to invert this one signal. Now that's the signal to the right. Luckily, we already kind of are inverting them. So we will have power here, and if we go like this, that turns off that one. And look, hey, the turns are, so if we just power them, we will go to the center. And if I push this one, hey, that flips to goes to the right. But now I need this one to work in such a way that when I push the button and remove power, that's when it flips. And if I hook this up right now, it would already be flipped. So we need to do something about that. So the one way, or the way I think is easiest, is if you just put a block here, and just make things simple, I'll put 2 blocks. And we just now need to push power through this block. But if I do something like this, and now I have a torch here, that will be inverted, but because these 2 lines are now touching, the signals will get crossed, and it will cause problems. So instead, if I put a repeater here, now they aren't touching. This block is only being powered by this line, not the line going across it as well. That power goes through the repeater and not into the block below it. So we are actually done here. So the way it's hooked up, you can see the center is the natural way to exit. And if I push this, just this gets powered and those don't change, so we'll go out the center. If I push this, you can see that flipped to the right and this got powered. And now if I push this, that one flipped to the left and this got powered. So that's done. You can just put blocks in here. You can fill this up as much as you want, as long as there's nothing there. Having a block there won't cause a problem because there's no redstone on top to burn out, but I'll just leave this open. You can close this up, and you're done. Build a wall here. If you want, you can actually put these torches underneath to make it all nice and flat, but that is this three-way station. Now, that's it for three-way stations that are easy to build. There are some other designs, but I think these are the easiest and most useful. This one is basically flat once you're done. This one, it's a nice, easy, only two choice. You know, the one benefit of this one is if you do come here by mistake, you can leave on the same track you came in on. Just, put signs up top, or as I did show, you can put lamps, and that will light up when you push the particular button. And as always, you just put signs saying which button goes where. And then, as I was saying, that one, this one you can return the way you came. This one you can't, but only it only gives you the two options, left or right, or left or straight, or right or straight. So it's really simple to use, and it's not that big. You make this look however you want. You can put legs down here if you think that makes it look cleaner. And this one is about as simple as you can get while still being operational. I do have one 4-way station here, or technically I have two 4-way stations, but basically one has all the wiring exposed and the other has all the wiring hidden, so they're really the same station. I've actually been using a version of this station since you needed to use booster carts to get carts to go. Now, it wasn't this compact. This was back a little further, and basically this has two levers and a button. So the two levers and the button were back further, but basically two levers give you 4 options, both up, one down, both down, and then one up, one down in the other direction. And I use that to flip basically 2 sets of switch tracks. This lever flips this switch track in the middle, and then these outer 2 switch tracks are both controlled by this lever. You can see they're both back, and now they're both forward. Now, depending on orientation, again, they may not all be lined up like that. Like this one could be forward and that one could be back. But by flipping this one, they'll both flip whichever way they were going. So this gives you 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then to help the user of this station out, this switch is labeled 1 and 2. 1 is up, 2 is down, and this one is labeled AB. A is up and B is down. That's what these signs at the bottom are trying to show. So if you want to go to 1, you just put it on 2B, and you can see when we hit the button, the cart will then come over to 1. Of course, it will go much further faster with a rider on it, and as you come into the station, you're directed around the outside of the station, and then up the hill here, and stopped, so all the controls are in reach. Like I was saying, I've been building this for a while, from when booster carts were needed. Now, of course, with those, you would stop back further, and the controls will be up further, and pressing the button would then have a booster cart come alongside you and accelerate you. But same basic, flipping these would flip the 3 switch tracks that are right in a row. Now, the materials for this one are as follows. You'll need 29 blocks, 7 boosters, 43 normal rails, 10 torches, 16 redstone dust, 3 levers, because actually I'm using one of the levers as power. You can use one more redstone torch, or actually take some away and use some more levers, and one button, and I use one piece of redstone lamp, which you don't need. You can have another block instead of the redstone lamp, and 4 sides. So this is relatively easy to build. We'll start off by making 2 3-high pillars. Between them and 1 block back is where the first switch track will go, and then 2 blocks on either side. You skip 1 block is where the other 2 switch tracks will go. And I always find this easiest. This is all above ground by putting in all the rails first. So there will be a powered rail here, and you just build a kind of triangle like that, and then 1 off to the side. It doesn't have to be this side, it could be this side. You can mirror this build basically, and it builds just the same. 1 more powered rail here, so you have 2 powered rails in a row. Normal rail on top, and then 1 on the side here, so this curves, and then we'll put a powered rail on the side. And here's where I use that 3rd lever just to power this. You can put a torch underneath or next to it. So let's build these switches. This first one will switch left or right, and then each of these will then again switch left or right. You can see that doesn't hook up right away, but as soon as we flip it, this will flip the right way. Actually, taking those out for a minute. Let's have them flip this way. So they'll turn like this. So this will be an exit here, and there'll be an exit here. But we don't want you to go over these switch tracks because we don't know which way they're going to be switched. So we'll put a bypass there, and then this will be an exit here again, and this will be an exit here. But again, we don't know which way these tracks are going, so we can't get you back in that same direction. So we will put a bypass there, and 1 there, and then finally the same thing happens here. So we'll put that back, and now we just hook all these together to make a loop around the back, and then this will just come there. And that is basically all the tracks, except for I did include 1 powered rail here, because this one you will actually slow down a lot because you are turning right against a wall that does slow the cart. So you, more than most of the other examples that I showed off so far, you will need boosters at the edges here. So the next step is putting in the controls. So these levers will go on these center blocks. Let's get the 1 lamp here, and the button goes on that. And now the rest is mostly just wiring. So there's really no place for this signal to go, so we put a torch on the back of each of these, and a little triangle of 3 blocks like this, and power to the top here, and then we put another torch here. That makes this lever change this torch, which will power this, which will then power that or unpower it. So that controls that turning left or right. You can put this on the other side if you want. If you want this one to be your main left-right switch, that works just the same, basically. You know, I actually built this slightly wrong. You need to extend that 1 block like further than I had it. And the same thing, well, you technically don't need to do the same thing on the other side. I do to make it symmetrical. So there we go. We're correct now. So we basically do the same thing on this side. So we don't have a torch there. but we do have a step up there. This one we have the torch on this side, and that gets us that switch track. See how that works. The only problem is we need to also change that switch track. So we put a torch above it, but now we need to get a signal from here to there. And the way I do that is I make a little step up there, and then another step up there. Probably could have left that block, but I like making these symmetrical. So there you go, you have a little arch over the center switch, and then you just run power along it, and see this switch forward, and now it's back, and so is that one. So that is that switch. So there we go, and now we just need to get this button to also power this track. And the very easiest way to do that is put some redstone on top of there, a block here with a torch, so that when you push this, it turns off the torch. You then just extend an arm 2 blocks forward, and then step like that. And then I remove this block just so it's easier to hit this switch if you're sitting in a cart here. But you put a torch on here which will power that track. Then you just put 3 bits of redstone so that it becomes unpowered and only powers when you push the button. And that's the station. Now you could have this routed differently, off to the side and then like in here somehow. You know, doing step ups like that. But that takes more redstone and more resources. And in that case you wouldn't have a torch here, you just have this unpowered, normally coming down and around, but it saves redstone overall if you make the 2 torches and come in over top. Now I have one more version of the station. Instead of having all the wiring exposed above it, this version of the station has all of the wiring underground, but basically it works the same way. We have the levers are just one lower so they can power underground. So you can see that one flips that, and let's see if I can, yeah, you see this flips both of them, and then pushing the button here powers the rails there. It just takes a brief extra minute of time, a few extra ticks, because I have basically a torch that gets brought all the way back to here, and then there's a repeater under here that transmits power down underground. Underground's a little more complicated, obviously, and not well lit. Torch around here. All these bats out of here. But I am not going to demonstrate this. This is left as an exercise to the viewer to recreate if they want. It's, like I said, it's the same switch, it's just all the wiring's been moved underground. It takes a little more wires, more repeaters to keep the wires from interfering, because I try to keep it as small as possible. It only is these 2 open blocks, doesn't go any further down, where over here, you know, there's plenty of room to route wires over other wires, so the wire can be more compact. But it works the same way. Let's just get... Oh, I did forget something there. Look at that. We'll just... I probably broke all this, right? Yes, I did. Look at that. So a torch there and one there. There we go. So, let's just get in here, and we'll put these both down and push the button, and we go this way. The game, because you're making a tight corner for a frame or 2, it thinks your head's in there, but you don't ever suffocate or, get damage. It's just basically a rendering glitch. So, that's how this station works. And then here we'll go around the long way around the outside. But that's 3-way and 4-way stations. Next time, I will show off basically push-button selectors and stations with more than 4 outputs or inputs. More than 4 destinations. So, see you next time, and thanks for watching.